Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast with me and Ascension versus Reticulin and NATkims here on Twilight Fortress. This shoutcast and this replay is brought to you by LU Computers. Go ahead and check out their website, lucomputers.com. There is a link on the top right hand corner for StarCraft 2 tested and ready computers. Here we have Ascension spawning as the blue Protoss player, me on the other side spawning as the red Terran player versus a Protoss and a Terran player as well. So this is going to be a true mirror match here on Twilight Fortress. Now, I was looking at the economy and looking at the graphs of this game and really surprised by a couple of things. Reticulin actually had the larger army at one point, so I really wanted to study this replay and figure out exactly what happened. Ascension now going to go ahead and move on in as well, trying to do some proper scouting. I'm trying to figure out if we have to worry about any Reaper harassment or anything of that nature. Already see NATkims getting down as one supply depot, setting up a pylon over here. I'm now going to go ahead and run and look in on NATkims. NATkims does not have a refinery yet. So without a refinery, you know that the Terran player will not be able to produce Marauders, will not be able to produce Reapers, only be able to produce Marines. And in a 2v2 matchup, that is a very, that's a very large sigh of relief, just because without those early Marines and or Marauders and Reapers, there's just a very limited amount of openings that the other player can do. Ascension may lose, no, not going to lose this probe here. Just doing still some proper scouting, as we already have a front door forge being placed down. So Reticulin getting a very early forge as that probe continues to move around. Back over here, we have a gateway now being placed down and this barracks being laid down as well. So gas now being placed down, and now that SCV should be coming over. Yeah, SCV going to go ahead and lay down that second refinery in order to get a stronger gas income. Gas income so strong in this game. Ascension now moving away with that probe. That probe very low on hit points, now continuing to be microed by Ascension. Ascension now going to go ahead and pull that unit back, also setting up an assimilator for himself. Back over here, NATkims having a barracks with one supply depot blocking his tech lab, and also another supply depot in here, most likely sharing control, so he can raise and lower those supply depots whenever they need to. But I think there's enough room right there. Yeah, there's enough room to run in between those two buildings right there, so probably gonna have to lay another supply depot there in just a moment in order to prevent any sort of run bys of the Hellions or any other units like that. Marauder now coming in as a factory now being laid down by me in order to go further up that tech tree. You can take a look at the production tab, excuse me as I move my mic. Cybernetics core, Zealot, photon cannons, Reticulin just playing a very defensive game, setting up these photon cannons here, enabling him to really just try to macro up and get up to higher tier 2, perhaps even tier 3. Carriers and battlecruisers are fairly dangerous in heavy numbers if you are not properly prepared for them. NATkims, however, still continuing to mine like crazy without any gas. You can take a look at the harvester income, and you can take a look at the income, and there's 0 gas being harvested, but he's only running off of 16 workers, so this particular base is not fully saturated. Back over here, NATkims not getting any extra, SCV's train for when he takes that third base, and you can already see NATkims taking this natural expansion over here, so NATkims will be able to get up a very strong economy as soon as he starts training up more and more SCVs, as he's able to mine from 24 mineral patches as opposed to just the standard 8 that a normal player has early in the game. So even now, we did not try to establish any of our expansions. We do have a strong economic advantage though. Starport now being laid down. Starport now lifting off, gonna go ahead and grab that tech lab and start producing Banshees. Banshees are a very strong unit in 2v2, and now a quick scanner sweep and revealing a lot of information. And he does in fact see my starport, but he does not know I have a tech lab, so he doesn't know if I'm going for Vikings or for Banshees. Banshees also getting the standard cloaking upgrade for those Banshees, as a cloaked Banshee is much more dangerous as it is very hard to keep track of. Back over here, we see Ascension now operating off of the 2 gate, and also getting a robotics facility and also establishing his own nexus as well. So that That Nexus is going to be able to allow him to get a stronger economic advantage. You can take a look at the harvester count, 26-26 for me and Ascension versus 20 and 23. Taking a look at the unit count though, all Reticulin has is a large number of cannons, and now opening up into a 6 gate, also researching the warp gate ability. So that warp gate ability allowing him to mine produce a very, very large economy. I'm assuming that at this stage, NATkims, because he has so many command centers and so many mules, will be able to start funneling income into Reticulin. There's no way Reticulin can really support operating off of 8 gateways unless his partner NATkims really just funnels in some extra SCV harvested minerals. Also, I start talking to NATkims, telling him take a picture, it lasts longer, because he kept on scanning my base over and over again, trying to figure out exactly what strategy I'm going for. You can already see that he has a missile turret being placed up in the back of his base, so that missile turret there to deter any sort of Banshee harassment. Reticulin says, gonna cast this Crota, and I said yes. So this is me keeping my promise. I believe Reticulin had asked me earlier if I was in fact the real Crota, so he may be looking for this commentary coming up. NATkims now, having plenty of energy on this command center, can probably start mining and getting some additional mules as well. Taking a look at the income, everyone fairly even, and oh, I take a couple needless hits from that missile turret dealing a fair amount of damage, and now coming in to try to snipe in some damage as well. Also, I want to make sure I take down some of these SCVs as they're building those missile turrets, so two of those quickly go down. Along with those missile turrets, they were not being repaired, and now another quick scanner sweep comes in. Down goes one of my Banshees, a second Banshee, able to barely escape, only with 40 hit points, and will need to return home. So my Banshee harassment not nearly dealing as much damage as I would like. I, however, have set up my natural expansion along with Ascension. Ascension pretty much fully macroing out of this base, so running off of 2 bases. Meanwhile, NATkims mining from here, and mining from his opponent's natural expansion as well. So NATkims coming in with more missile turrets in order to fend off this attack. And one observer quickly getting taken down by a photon cannon. So photon cannons still fire photon cannons at this stage in the game. No photon ball or particle ball. So hopefully at some point Blizzard will rename the name of the photon cannon, the name of the attack. Anyway, Stalkers now moving out and gonna be able to move in. The Stalkers do not have Blink at this stage, but he is in fact researching. So Reticulin researching Blink, nearly completed, and only needs about another 45 or 40 units of time to finish researching, and that is a fair number of Stalkers, sitting at a dozen Stalkers at this stage. So those Stalkers, if they're able to get sight into the base, will be able to blink up fairly easily. So Stalkers now moving in and quickly taking a lot of damage from those Marauders. Trying to do a little bit of a chase, but those siege tanks would be able to blast it away so easily. So those Stalkers deciding to move back over here. Ascension really likes to take these high yield minerals, so gonna go ahead and set up an expansion over here in just a moment. Rather than pause the game during a monumental fight, which I believe is coming up, stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between Ascension and me versus Reticulin and NATkims here on Twilight Fortress.